Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through an entire wholesale real estate transaction that I just ended up closing on today, that I felt that making a video out of it would bring a lot of value to you guys. I'm going to be starting all the way from how I ended up finding the deal, what kind of marketing I did, all the way up to dispose and everything in between. So if you guys have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment section down below. With that said, let's hop into my computer. I got everything pulled up that you guys might want to know, and I hope you enjoy the video. So getting right into it, I told you guys I'm going to walk you guys through pretty much starting from how I found the deal. So this one was a little bit special. If you guys are not using Craigslist as a way of marketing, I'm not saying it should be your go-to thing, but for me, it's always been a place where I place ads, where I look for deals every single day, because it's kind of a hidden gem. People overlook it because I think it's saturated, when in fact, it's kind of the reverse psychology kind of thing. Yes, there's a lot of people on there, but people come and go and they aren't consistent on it. And that's why I have actually found a few deals doing Craigslist myself. Within the Phoenix market, I've noticed that obviously some markets work better than others. Some towns, people never even use Craigslist. And for Phoenix, it's like a gold mine, in my opinion. And there's a lot of trash in there, but once in a blue moon, you'll actually find something where you have a really motivated for sale by owner, or potentially you could even find JV deals on there with other wholesalers. But that's how I found my first deal. This is pretty much, you guys can see on the screen exactly what I had put up. And so this one, they actually didn't end up calling me. This is basically what the ads look like for the most part. Yes, we buy houses fast cash, and then obviously in a very enticing picture, just to make them feel like they're clicking on something. It just, obviously yellow attracts attention. There's 2-3 colors in there, and I can see why somebody would click on it just to check it out at least. So that's kind of the vibe we're going for. Obviously, I change up the wording in the ads and sometimes the pictures as well, but typically this has been the best performing ad, simply because that's how I've got a few deals so far. And when I say few, it's 2 now that I've got. This one, and I have another one that I will be talking about on the channel. Should be closing this Friday as I'm filming this. But this is the thing. You guys can read it. I'm not going to read through it, but it's pretty simple. Just if you read through it for half a second, you know exactly what we're doing. I put my phone number in there, so sometimes we get calls and sometimes we get email backs. And then also, this is actually how I ended up getting this deal. You guys can see. For more information, you can visit our website at www.extremehomebuyersusa.com. That's the URL for my company. It's kind of long. It's probably not what I'm going to stick with forever, but it works for now, and I use a website called Carrot. So what actually happened was the homeowner, well, it wasn't even the homeowner. It was like a homeowner's like assistant or something. I guess he had told her to go ahead and go try to sell the property. She wasn't an agent or anything, so this property wasn't on the MLS, but he had tenants in it before. And this one's in Phoenix. I also post them in Tucson. So this one was actually a Tucson lead. He had tenants in it before, but now he was just looking to sell. I think he's trying to liquidate a little bit with everything going on. So I actually contacted this lead they contacted me a little bit over a month ago, so beginning of March, I believe. And so when they had gone to the website and actually filled out the lead form. So there's a couple of things that the lead form will ask for. What they fill out really depends, but I've always had this. It's like $49 a month. They build the website and it looks really good. If you're not using carrot.com and you just want a simple website, 100% go for it. If you want to build something more long-term, I'd recommend you kind of figure out the back end and don't go through somebody like this where you have to pay a monthly subscription just to have them build your website. But it's super easy for somebody like me that just needs to have a little bit of brand recognition, that can point somebody in the right direction. If they say, do you have a website? Yes, I do. So this is exactly how that worked out. The address was 6311 North Barcelona Court. I'm not going to say the exact condo. I'll show you the HUD statement and everything. You guys can see like this was a deal. I'm not lying. So I just don't want to give away the exact condo for safety reasons, and it just really doesn't need to be talked about. But it was a 1-1 out in Tucson. And so I'm not going to go down and show you like the contact details of them, but they basically reached out I got a notification on my phone that they had filled out the form. They actually filled out a step 2 form, which means they fill out a little bit more info, like how many bed, baths, condition. And so I called them right up. Leads like this, I always try to reach out to as soon as possible. I don't really get that many leads here, simply because it's just the only way I push it is through Craigslist. And sometimes I can post more Craigslist than others because some people take them down, but they reached out to 1-1. It was exactly 672 square feet, built in 1972. And so I'm not sure how accurate that info is. I don't think that's totally accurate based on last sold date. But overall, the condo was probably, ARV is closer to 65 to 70, probably 68 to $70,000. So I'll actually show you what happened next. So they reached out to me. I reached out back over the phone within the next 10 minutes. And I spoke to the assistant because she was the one that had reached out, told me the situation that I told you guys before, and basically said they're looking to sell. So this wasn't like a one conversation kind of thing. I ended up going, and I'll show you the text messages here. So I'm going to block out the number and everything, but he said, "Hi there, Andrew is stuck in Phoenix working," and I told him we needs to make a decision. I just want to keep you posted. So this is this is like 2-3 weeks after I initially spoke to her. I kind of gave an offer closer to like the 50 or 45, 50 range. And you'll see why I actually offered that high and my thought process behind it. I'll talk about here in a second as we look at some of the pictures of the actual condo. But she's talking about Andrew, who is the owner. He actually lived here in Phoenix where I am. But this deal is out in Tucson. So it's only like an hour and a half drive. But I kept calling her pretty much every week, just kind of following up, seeing exactly what Andrew had thought about it. I think he was asking like 62 or something like that. And I had, obviously, when you offer 45 on a 62, that's technically, I would consider a low ball. But I mean, I had to make an offer. So this was really where it was kind of starting. It didn't really happen yet where I'm located, at least. But it was one of those things where it was starting to come into play, and so I was kind of nervous about the deal that I had sent out the offer and then realized I probably should have gone lower, but it all worked out, and you guys will see what happened to it as I talk more about this transaction. But I kept calling her, seeing what Andrew was up to, and I had eventually just been like, what's going on? We had hopped on the phone, and I was like, I need a decision now. We can't just be sitting on this property. I had used some strategies I've learned here and there, like I think I had told her that I had allocated the funds, because I had already spent a decent amount of time doing follow-up and everything like that. A lot of the times deals like these that come through those web portals are pretty quick, where this one kind of was. It does fall in that category. It closed within a month or two after the initial contact. But I basically said the highest I can do is $50,000. Andrew is ready to move forward. I checked my email. I don't think the application. So she told me to send over everything. I think the only stipulation they had, I'm trying to think if they had any stipulations. No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously it was as is. It was a cash offer of $50,000. I mean, I had gone out and actually took the picture. So I got the contract. She had sent me a couple of pictures and it looked good. So this was basically a sight unseen offer. But I took her word for it. And obviously I would have to go lower if I noticed in person that it wasn't the same condition. And I could have had her go and take the pictures of it, but I like to get my hands on the property, take pictures myself, because obviously this was going to be a situation with going on that I had to go ahead and basically have the buyer buy it sight unseen. So I wanted to take really good pictures, really good videos, and I'm not sure she could do that. So I went out there and actually took the pictures. So now we're going to go ahead and look at some of the pictures, and you'll see why I offered 50. Whether you think it was a good strategy or not, that's totally up to you, but the deal closed, so everything kind of worked out. So this is basically the kitchen. I have a video. I'm not going to show it just because you guys can tell everything from these pictures, but this was the kitchen. They had done some remodeling. The only thing that really wasn't changed was the appliances. You guys can see, I mean, you can see that the stove is a little bit older, the older fridge, but the cabinets were freshly painted, a nice blue color. You can see the wood flooring. I don't know what exactly that is because sometimes I don't think it's actually real wood, but here's a couple better picture of the appliances. This was the room. You could tell it was fresh carpet, fresh painting and everything like that. I mean, electric was on when I gone and seen it. They obviously took care of the property, or the previous tenant did, or they just did good remodeling. The bathroom was actually pretty remodeled. Looks like a newer I think they had put in a new, what's it called, toilet and a countertop here in the bathroom. Again, it's a 1 bed, 1 bath, pretty small. And this wasn't what I started to realize. This wasn't a hot commodity, but I'll talk about it here in a second. It's a great learning experience. See, there's just more pictures. It's pretty small. Again, 672 square feet. It has a little balcony out here. There's some holes in the walls here from a TV, like put it on the wall, whatever those things are called, a TV stand or TV mount. The balcony had a little fireplace, and that was kind of the outside of it. So it was actually in a really good spot of Tucson. It was a little bit more on the northern side of Tucson, if you guys don't know about it. But how I came up with the 50,000 was I basically just threw out a number. I know a lot of people, especially with what's going around, this wasn't going to be a deal because they would not take below 50. It probably would have just put it on the MLS, to be totally honest with you. I got a little desperate as a newer wholesaler. I hadn't closed a deal in a couple months, and I just wanted to get something under contract. Probably not the most ethical thing, but I told her I've never had a deal put under contract where I couldn't find a buyer, and that's 100% honest with her. I just sent over the contract, and I was like, hey, let's get this ball rolling. Took the pictures, and I ended up dispoing it. So a little bit more on the dispo side of things. So again, it was 50,000. I thought it was a good deal simply because the ARV was around 70. I probably should have got it closer. If it was truly a good deal, it was already remodeled and everything like that. It should be at probably around 40, maybe even 35. I had buyers. When I started dispoing it, people were coming in at 45, 47. I had one at 35. Condos were it was actually working out really well in terms of kind of how many people were actually responding back. A lot of the times when I have had deals in the past that have taken longer, there's like no movement. And when I sent this out, there's actually a lot of people super interested in the deal, specifically because it was already rehabbed. People are looking to kind of put their money somewhere else other than like stocks at the moment, and they could put a renter in it. I think rent was around $800 a month. But what I learned was 1-1 condos are not nearly as hot as like 2-1 condos, 2-2 condos, or even anything with more bedroom and baths. 1-1s were a little bit different simply because the rents, it's hard to cash flow a lot, especially if you're taking on a mortgage. But we ended up finding a buyer, so I couldn't find a buyer myself, and that's me being totally honest with you guys. But I ended up finding a buyer using a company that I've used in the past called Heagley. I have my guy there, Jeremy, super, super nice guy. He's dispoed a few deals for me now, but the only drawback is I had to take a 50-50 split on it. Honestly, if I didn't have him, I definitely wouldn't have found a buyer for it. And so it's like, that's how I justify it a little bit. If I absolutely cannot dispo the deal, I've looked for a few days. I've dispoed enough, not nearly enough, but in my opinion, I'm smart enough to tell when a deal is really going to fly off the shelf or it's going to take a little bit of work. So a few days went by and I ended up reaching out to him. I think the second or third day he had put it out to his buyers, and they obviously, that's what they are. They're a dispo company. They find buyers. They basically JV. That's how they make their money, and totally fine because they built a great reputation with hedge funds, international buyers, local buyers, whatever it is, you name it. But it ended up finding a buyer, and so this was news to me. I'll show you guys the HUD statement here. So basically, $50,000 to the seller. This is me. This is kind of what I got from my title rep. I don't know if this is officially a HUD statement, but this is exactly what had gone on. So I had put $100 earnest money down for this transaction. Sometimes I can get it, sometimes I don't. They didn't have any problem to it. So $100 is basically what I try to do every single time. So I put $100 down to open up earnest money, HOA dues. You can go through here. So this is where I kind of got really confused on what happened with this deal. So I dispoed it to him, and I talked to Jeremy, and I was like, so you found a buyer? He said, yeah. And so apparently you guys can see here how many different assignment fees. So on this transaction, I was making $2,495. So $2,500 is what I made on this transaction. They were going to split that with me. So they found a buyer at 55. So we were just going to go 50-50 on it, 2,495. And what I ended up finding, the only time I found this out was when we already had found a buyer and weeks had gone on, was it got dispoed twice again. So I had dispoed it apparently to Keegley. Keegley had dispoed it to one of these two companies, EDV or AZ Equity. They dispoed it to another disposition company, and they dispositioned it to the final buyer. So, like, it's fine. I love to see everybody winning. For me, I just didn't know that was going on. Like, great for them. Like, I don't know how they found a buyer, but apparently they had found a buyer at 70,993, which is the highest comp. It should not go for that. That is way too much for the property. I don't know any buyer. Again, like, I couldn't find a buyer over even fit. Like, I found buyers strictly under 50, and they're coming in with somebody at 70,993. So that shows you the power of building your buyers list over time, which is crazy. So what happened was the guy actually lives, like, I think he goes back and forth between San Diego and Mexico. I haven't even met the dude, but apparently this company is making $5,010, $7,990. So this thing got disposed like crazy. So I kind of feel bad if I don't really know what the original owner had sees when he goes and closes, but I mean, apparently the thing ended up closing at 70,993 and he's getting 50. We're just middlemen in the end of the day. There's no problem with it, but I don't know. This thing got disposed a lot. Really weird. Again, I have no problem with it simply because I made my share. I had originally tried to dispose at 55. I technically got that. Just had to split it with Keegley, and I'll walk away with it. But that really motivated me to try to build up my buyers list, which is something I really don't do. And you can simply do it just by being on the phones. If you're already on the phones all day calling people or you're reaching out, it's as simple as ending the conversation as, okay, you're not interested in selling. Would you be interested in buying, and adding them to that list, because who knows what kind of buyer or what relationship they had. Obviously, he's probably going to be an end buyer, in my opinion, simply because when looking at the person who actually bought it, it was just a name, not an LLC. I honestly have a 50-50 chance at guessing that right, but he's probably an end buyer. So super excited for him to be able to get that deal in Tucson, Arizona. This was another learning experience for me. It had been, I think, 4 months now since I had closed a deal. It was a rough 4 months, but Craig just really pulled off for me. Somebody was looking after me I had somebody that went and put out a lead and ended up turning into this deal of $2,500. Again, this was probably one of the more learning experiences I've had. It took about month and a half to 2 months to end up closing. So pretty quick for a wholesale transaction, not the quickest, not the slowest. But I mean, if you guys have any questions, you can let me know. I apologize if I rambled too much. I don't think I did. I'm trying to use these videos to provide some sort of value. I kind of just randomly thought I should pick up the camera today and talk about it simply because I'm closing on it. Closed today, and I'm getting my direct deposit tomorrow. So if you guys want to see the actual proof of it, go follow me on Instagram at KishesRani. I'm sure it is linked down below. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I pretty much will answer any question, whether it's now or you're watching in 6 months. If you have a good question, I'll pretty much respond back to you within the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. More videos like this. I have another deal closing, I think this Friday it should close. Again, with everything going on, sometimes it pushes back 1 or 2 days, but I'll probably make a video on that one. Another Craigslist deal, a little bit different, but pretty cool. Another learning experience that I can kind of give that knowledge back to you guys. So I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.